Questioning inequality. The question is, should we try to reduce the degree of income inequality in a country? Well, on the one hand, no, because some of the inequality that we observe is equitable. It's the reward for investment and hard work. Imagine some little girl growing up in a poor inner city or maybe rural community, and the only time that she sees a really fancy car is when her mother takes her to the doctor. And in the parking space for the doctor, she sees a really nice car and realizes that the doctor lives quite well. And this motivates her. She says, I want to be a doctor too, so I can live well. So when she goes home, she studies really hard, as an elementary school student and as a high school student, and does well, matriculates for university, puts in the long hours studying, and graduates as a doctor. And after she graduates, then she puts in longer hours attending to patients round the clock. And as a result of having invested in her education and work long hours, then she earns a nice fat income. Do you want to take that away from her and give it to somebody who was less motivated and did not put in the same effort and didn't work the same number of hours? The answer is no. Another consideration is that some amount of inequality is actually productive because it incentivizes investment and hard work. There's a trade-off between equality and motivation. If everybody ends up being equal, then there's no motivation to invest and to work hard. It is the presence of inequality that provided the motivation to that little girl from a poor community to make the effort and to make the investment and to become a doctor. Yet another consideration is that even if we do want to reduce inequality, the redistribution itself uses up resources that don't directly contribute to anybody's standard of living. Economists quite descriptively calls this the problem of the leaky bucket, that the metaphorical bucket that is used to take income from the well-off to give it to the less well-off ends up giving less than it takes, because there might be wastage, and even if not wastage in the pejorative sense of the word, then the administration of the redistribution program uses up resources itself. And so you end up handing over less than you have taken. Redistribution uses resources that doesn't directly contribute to anybody's welfare. So there are a number of reasons why there is a limit to how much redistribution should take place. But that is on the one hand. On the other hand, there are arguments for redistribution. For one thing, a lot of the inequality that we observe is not equitable. It is based on the accident of circumstances. Households earn their income from their stock of productive assets, from their stock of assets that they can contribute to the economy. And the fact that some households only have one working adult and has no capital assets, has no business, has no investment in the stock market, has no advanced education, is often not due to the fault of the household. It's due to historical chance of, where you are born, what side of town. And a lot of it really has to do with historical differences in income distribution. So insofar as a lot of the income inequality is based on circumstances beyond the control of the household, then it is inequitable. And that provides an obligation to try to mitigate the worst of it. Another consideration is that inequality is probably what we can call welfare suboptimal. The first $100 of income for any household is worth a lot subjectively to that household. That goes towards satisfying your very basic needs like food. But as more income is earned, then the last $100 earned by a really wealthy household is not satisfying basic needs. We have gone well beyond basic needs and is satisfying more likely whims. And so subjectively, that last $100 is less meaningful. What we're saying here is that there are diminishing returns to wealth. In which case, taking that last $100 from a very wealthy household and giving it to a poor household, in all likelihood, increases overall welfare. We can't say for sure, of course, because we can't compare subjective valuations, but in all likelihood. Yet another consideration is that too much inequality is socially unstable. Inequality promotes social unrest. There's a correlation between the degree of equality and the amount of trust there is amongst the members of a community and the degree to which they feel to be part of the same social project. We call this social capital. And when there is less equality, then this social capital is less, and it increases the likelihood that there's going to be crime and social disruption. A couple of economists published a paper in the Journal of Development Economics that actually established this correlation statistically, that they plotted countries according to their Gini coefficient, which is a measure of inequality, and the extent to which there are people working in protective services, that is to say, as security guards and police. And when they compared those two against each other, what they found was a broad positive correlation. That is to say, there was evidence that the greater the inequality, the more security guards you need. So, social stability suggests that action should be taken to mitigate the degree of inequality. So we conclude that there are reasons to try to reduce inequality as well as reasons to preserve some of it.